The killer was a working police officer. He personally committed 13 horrifying murders, over 50 brutal rapes, and more than 120 home burglaries. He was given several bone-chilling nicknames. The most infamous was the Original Night Stalker, but the loudest and most terrifying title of all was the Golden State Killer. From the very beginning, police could never have imagined that all these horrific crimes were the work of one man. What's even more shocking is that, for over 40 years, he walked free. It wasn't until August 21st, 2020 that he was finally sentenced to life in prison. So what turned him into a twisted serial killer? And how did he manage to evade capture? For 4 decades, the monster's name was Joseph James DeAngelo. He was a police officer, and he started committing crimes while still on the force. Think about that for a second. When the criminal himself is part of the investigation, imagine how much harder it becomes to identify a suspect. That advantage let him get away with it, time and time again, until he was finally caught at the age of 75. DeAngelo was born in 1945. His father was a U.S. Army sergeant who regularly abused the family. When DeAngelo was 10 years old, he witnessed his own sister being sexually assaulted by 2 airmen in a warehouse. For a child, the trauma from something like that is immeasurable. This was likely the starting point of his psychological unraveling, igniting a decade-long spree of assault and murder that stripped him of all reason and humanity. In 1964, he enlisted in the U.S. Navy. 6 years later, he got engaged to a college classmate named Bonnie, but they eventually broke up. Bonnie went on to marry a wealthy accountant. According to survivors during one of his attacks, DeAngelo screamed hysterically, "I hate you, Bonnie." That emotional wound likely fueled his path toward vengeful assault in the 1970s. He earned a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, then completed a 32-week police internship at the Roseville Police Department from 1973 to 1975. He served as a patrol officer in Exeter, California. During that same period, his criminal career officially began, a police officer doubling as a serial criminal. It sounds absolutely absurd, but it actually happened. On March 19, 1974, he launched a massive string of home burglaries. He liked breaking into homes late at night, deliberately scattering women's underwear around the house. He'd steal worthless trinkets while completely ignoring cash and valuables. He loved taking coins from piggy banks, stamps, foreign currency, earrings, cufflinks, rings, medals, and even made off with 6 weapons and a stash of ammunition. An ordinary thief steals for money, but DeAngelo clearly wasn't ordinary. His thefts were purely about twisted satisfaction, not profit. On November 30th, 1974, in a single day, he committed 12 burglaries, a staggering record. In the early hours of September 11, 1975, he broke into the home of Claude Snelling, a 45-year-old journalism professor. Snelling was awakened by strange noises. When he walked into the garage, he came face-to-face with DeAngelo wearing a ski mask, trying to kidnap the professor's daughter. The daughter was stabbed, and the professor was shot twice before collapsing in his home. He died shortly after. Prosecutors later revealed that. Before fleeing the scene, DeAngelo brutally kicked the victim's daughter in the face. From 1976 to 1979, DeAngelo transferred to the Auburn Police Department in California. During this time, his crimes escalated from burglary to sexual assault. At first, he targeted women living alone, stalking them at night and waiting for the right moment to strike. He'd scout target neighborhoods extensively, memorizing every possible escape route, sometimes weeks or even months in advance. He'd sneak into a victim's home to unlock windows. He also made harassing phone calls to learn their daily routines. Eventually, he shifted his targets to couples. He'd climb through a window, blind them with a flashlight, and threaten to shoot if they didn't comply. Then he'd force the wife to tie up her husband, separate the couple, and stack dishes and utensils on the man's back, coldly warning that any noise meant death for everyone. After that, he'd drag the wife into the living room and assault her for hours. After breaking into victims' homes, DeAngelo would often ransack cabinets and drawers. He always took worthless odds and ends, occasionally grabbing cash or firearms. Then he'd slip away silently, leaving victims in agonizing uncertainty, unsure whether he had truly left. Because of this, many chose to stay silent and waited a long time before calling the police. From June 1976 to July 1979, DeAngelo committed a total of 50 rapes. His ability to avoid detection was extraordinary. Multiple victims provided detailed suspect sketches. One victim recalled that the attacker looked remarkably young with a round face, large eyes, and a wide mouth, but none of these leads helped police catch this vicious criminal. After committing all those crimes, DeAngelo's appetite could no longer be satisfied. He began escalating to murder. In February 1978, the Golden State Killer shot and killed a couple named Brian and Katie. While they were walking their dog at night, they were ambushed on the street. Brian tried to run, but DeAngelo chased him down and shot him dead. Watching her husband fall, Katie screamed in terror. Moments later, she was shot and killed too. From 1979 to 1986, DeAngelo's crimes shifted entirely to savage murder. On December 30th, 1979, Robert and his wife Manning were found dead in their home around 3 in the morning. A next-door neighbor woke up to use use the bathroom. The moment he got out of bed, he clearly heard 3 gunshots coming from Robert's house. The shots also woke the neighbor's wife. Both rushed to their bedroom window and looked out. All they could see was a sliding glass door left half open and total darkness inside, not a single light on. When police arrived and searched the scene, they found every light switch had been deliberately turned off. The thermostat had been shut off too. Inside, there were only 2 bodies. The female victim's hands were bound behind her back. She lay face down on the bed with a gunshot wound to her head. On the floor beside her was her husband Robert's body. He'd been shot once in the chest and 4 more times in the back. The ropes on his wrists were slightly loosened, indicating he had desperately struggled to break free, but ultimately failed and couldn't stop the attacker. Further examination of the crime scene revealed that the killer had actually eaten leftover Christmas turkey in the house. Nearby neighbors reported that their child's bicycle had been stolen that night and was later found abandoned several blocks away. The killer was D'Angelo. According to the investigation, he had already been burglarizing the neighborhood that afternoon. A resident's safe had been pried open. A witness spotted a stranger rushing from the living room to the backyard. The stolen rings and cash, along with twine found dropped in the backyard, perfectly matched the twine used to bind the victims at the crime scene. 3 months later, Charlene and Lyman were brutally murdered in their home. Charlene had also been sexually assaulted. Her hands were tied behind her back, and her ankles were bound as well. She was wearing nothing but a top. Lyman was completely naked, his hands and feet tightly bound with nylon cord. The unusual diamond knot found on Charlene's wrists led investigators to temporarily dub the killer the Diamond Knot Killer. The bedroom had been thoroughly ransacked. Dressers and drawers were torn open, personal belongings scattered across the floor. The murder weapon was a piece of wood taken from a woodpile in the backyard. Both victims had been beaten to death. The sheer force of the blows sent splinters and bark flying all over the bedroom carpet. Remarkably, this house bore a striking resemblance to Robert's home in both design and layout. In July 1981, another well-respected couple, Domingo and Sanchez, were also murdered in their home. D'Angelo's final known crime was in May 1986. 18-year-old Janelle Cruz was killed. She was bound, sexually assaulted, and beaten to death in her own home. Blood was found on the kitchen floor, the cabinets, and the nightstand. Cruz suffered severe blows to the head. The weapon was likely a wrench. Missing from the backyard, her forehead took a fatal strike. No one knows why D'Angelo suddenly stopped after the Cruz murder. According to investigators, he had also made harassing phone calls to victims and taunted police in writing. It wasn't until 2001 that DNA evidence finally confirmed the East Area rapist and the Golden State Killer were one and the same person. For over a decade, numerous suspects couldn't be convicted. Some had died before 1986. Others had their DNA records purged. As DNA databases expanded, investigators were able to rapidly narrow the search. After decades of relentless pursuit, in 2018, police finally arrested D'Angelo based on DNA evidence. His neighbors were stunned. In their eyes, he was just a meticulous, ordinary man who always kept his lawn perfectly trimmed, just with a short temper, always yelling and screaming. In June 2020, survivors and victims' families appeared in court and delivered powerful, gut-wrenching statements. D'Angelo had lived carefree for over 70 years, while his victims and their families carried scars that would never heal. Some survivors still rely on alcohol to numb the pain. Others have sunk into deep depression, living in constant fear, too afraid to be home alone. And some appear perfectly fine on the surface, bright and cheerful by day, but in the darkest hours of night, they're still consumed by the terrifying memories of what happened to them. Now this monstrous killer has finally been brought to justice. D'Angelo ultimately received the punishment he deserved. He might still count himself lucky for all those extra years of freedom, but what shocks most people is how a criminal like this could keep offending for 40 years without getting caught. His criminal methods and ability to cover his tracks were far beyond anything ordinary, a terrifying kind of twisted genius. That's it for today's video. What are your thoughts on the Golden State Killer? Feel free to share in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like and subscribe.